Radio Raheem here with the chairman, Bob Arum. You know, it's odd. I live in LA. I'm now used to seeing you more in New York than even Vegas or any place else. You're doing quite a bit of business there. Talk to me first about 2019. There's a lot of moves Top Rank is making, a lot of acquisitions you're getting. Talk to me about the start of this year and what has changed with Top Rank from 18 to 19.
Well, you know, going in 18, we had a very, very good group of fighters, but thanks to ESPN, we're expanding that group to include some other good fighters like Tyson Fury. ESPN, we've convinced them by our performance that boxing is very, very good for them, both linear and on the ESPN Plus. And so we're looking, and we've signed some other fighters like Bitabiov, Kovalov, who'll be fighting soon. We're going to even hopefully expand the franchise to do even more fights. We made a deal with MTK Global to do some fights for them. They will do them in England and Ireland and Europe, and we'll bring them back on ESPN Plus on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon.
Obviously, a lot of news was made when Tyson Fury came over to co-promotion with Top Rank and ESPN deal, and it started to beg the question, what does that do to or for the heavyweight division? I'm certain that you had to think about what kind of fights you can give for him and how he can, I guess, make that money. What's the big fights that ESPN and Top Rank can make for Tyson Fury?
Well, first of all, it started out with the problem that when Fury and Wilder fought, it didn't do extraordinarily well at the pay-per-view because nobody really in the country, other than a couple of boxing fans, knew Tyson Fury, and Wilder really wasn't known outside of some boxing people. That's a shame. So now with Fury, our guy, he has a great personality, he's a real character, and you'll see people will know Tyson Fury. He may end up the most famous fighter in the world because of the promotion we're going to give him. Hopefully, and we tried to get Wilder and do the same thing with Wilder, but Wilder decided, I think, to stay the way he was. Hopefully, they follow what we're doing with Wilder and use Fox, not Showtime, because Showtime can't do it. Use Fox to build up Wilder, to make him known to the fans, sport fans and general fans in the United States. Wilder is a charming guy. He speaks well, good-looking guy. There's no reason for him not to be considered one of the top athletes, not only in boxing, but in all sports.
In addition to Wilder, there's been reports that you've tried to make an acquisition with the Charlo brother. Is there anything that you can do with Al Haymon to work with his fighters or to have a relationship? You guys have a storied past. Is there a way to mend that fence and actually work together with fighters?
Well, first of all, to my knowledge, we've never gone out after either Charlo. I know Eddie Hearn has, but we haven't. We respect Al's fighters, and we don't look to poach them. We would like their fighters to fight our fighters, and we've said that repeatedly. And, well, he says, well, I'm not going to give you all my fighters to fight on ESPN. I said, no, we'll work something out. It doesn't have to all be on ESPN. If you want one of our fighters to fight one of your fighters on Fox, that's acceptable, But you got to sit down, you got to have dialogue. The truth is that Haymon doesn't want dialogue. Haymon wants to have an island unto himself. That's his strategy. He doesn't want to cooperate with other promoters. But that's his choice. and he's not violating any law if he does that.
Does it make it impossible then, really, for boxing to get, like, it's a broken record. We always end up talking about, can we get the fights we want? Can we get the fights we want when they should happen? It looks like now the heavyweight division is split with the 3 top guys and 3 totally different promotions, totally different networks. How do we ever see, regardless of how well you build Fury, how do we ever see a Wilder rematch or a Fury Joshua if we can't make a bridge between these 3 islands?
If Joshua is built the way Fury is being built, Joshua will be huge in the United States. The trick is to build these fighters up so that the people, the sports fans, everybody know who they are and have a rooting interest. We can do that now with Fury. Hopefully, they'll be able to do it with Joshua. They'll be able to do it Wilder. If that's the case, then the money in the heavyweight division will be enormous. You can match these guys and count on 2 million pay-per-view homes. You can do that, but you gotta build up these fighters to get to that point. People don't know Wilder, really. They don't. You walk down the street and you talked about Wilder, very few people even know who he is. Now, I remember in the 80s when I walked down the street and I talked to people about Leonard or Hagler, everybody knew who they were.
A big star under Top Rank, maybe your biggest star arguably, is Terence Crawford. The most potential, the guy is on everybody's top pound-for-pound list. He's got a big fight at Madison Square Garden, a huge venue. First of all, a stage that big, and you're talking about building star power, how much promotion does Crawford need to get the kind of household recognition that he would need to be a huge fighter that can pack a place like Madison Square Garden?
Well, he's coming close to doing it. We're selling extraordinarily well in the Garden. But yeah, he can be bigger than he is now. And hopefully, with the push that ESPN's going to give him, he will be. Terence is a wonderful fighter. But, you know, this is absolutely insane. I understand that Fox showed the 5 leading welterweights in the world Saturday night, and nowhere to be found was Crawford's name. Now, what is that? I mean, isn't that a joke?
Well, you're talking about bridging these islands. Literally, we're going to bridge an island on April 20th with a British fighter coming over, Amir Khan, who we all know very well, and Terence Crawford. How do you see that matchup happening? What does Amir Khan bring to the table that Terence Crawford needs to be wary of?
Amir Khan's a tremendous boxer. He really has talent. Always had talent. His problem always was that as he's boxing well, he gets overconfident, and then he puts his chin in the air, and he gets knocked down. So if he doesn't do that, he is capable of giving Terence fits on April 20 and making a really interesting fight out of it.
Another fighter that is fast and has big name recognition, and you know better than anybody. Obviously, we're talking about Manny Pacquiao, who's mentioned Terence Crawford many times. Before he left Top Rank, it was a fight that we were talking about could be made. Is that fight still possibly in the offing? Is that something you'd put together?
Not really. Manny really doesn't want to fight Crawford, and the question is, should he? You know, it's not like he's a spring chicken. He's a guy in his 40s. You know, that means something. You know, a guy in his 40s can run the risk of injury where if he were in his 30s, he wouldn't run that risk. Cranium is different and everything. So I wouldn't like Manny to fight either Crawford or Spence. I think that's a bridge too far. You know, you put him with a Porter. I think Porter's just is not an elite welterweight. Manny could probably handle him or not get hurt, and that would be an okay fight. Or Danny Garcia doesn't punch very hard. That would be a good fight for Manny. But Crawford or Spence, that's a bridge too far, truthfully.
Crawford versus Spence is a super fight. Like you just said, you're going to have to figure out a way to work without Haymon to make that fight happen, obviously. Is that kind of the only fight that can make Terence Crawford a superstar?
No, we're going to make him a superstar. Whoever he fights, don't worry, it's coming. We have the platform and we'll be able to do it. But, I want to make a Spence fight because Spence isn't going to hang out at welterweight much longer. So I would love them to fight each other. And, it would be, there's both sufficiently well known that it would be a major pay-per-view event. But again, I can make a deal in 5 minutes that's fair with Haymon, but I don't think Haymon wants to do it. There's a whole psychological thing. He doesn't want to risk his fight in losing to hard fighters.
Is Spence the best welterweight currently?
No, I think Crawford is.
Now, we got Lomachenko here, another huge venue, Staples Center. It's not known, LA fans are not known for packing the house for boxing. What does Lomachenko need, in the same way I asked you about Crawford, to become the kind of star that his talent warrants?
Well, he's getting there. I mean, I can tell with the people that I go out socially with who are just sport fans, not boxing fans, they all know Lomachenko now. They all do. He's gotten a lot of publicity. He's going to get more publicity. I know I put him in Madison Square Garden. I do 14, 15,000 people because a lot of Ukrainians in the East. Putting him here is somewhat a risk. There's fewer Ukrainians, but we've dressed it up with Zerto on the card, Ramirez. We have some great undercard matches, Alvarado and Barbosa. And also we put this Indian kid, Vijender Singh, on the card, undefeated super middleweight, and he's selling hundreds and hundreds of tickets a day for us. I didn't know there were that many Indians here.
Well, we all know Mikey Garcia is going to be in that ring Saturday night against Errol Spence at welterweight, but assuming that he can jump divisions like he seems to believe he can, that's obviously a big fight that could be made, hopefully, for Lomachenko. Has there any discussion there? Like, can Mikey and Lomachenko get in that ring together sometime in 19?
Well, I don't expect Mikey to beat Spence. I think he's a good fighter, Mikey is, but, he doesn't have anything to hurt Spence with, and then Spence is too big for him and will overpower him. But Mikey's a very, very good fighter, and a fight with Lomachenko would be ideal. However, once a guy goes up in weight 2 divisions, it becomes very, very difficult physically for him to get down to back to 135. So I'm not sure he could do it. We'd have to talk to Robert, his brother, who's an astute boxing guy. So we'll cross that bridge when it comes to. But Lomachenko always wanted to fight, always wants to fight Garcia. The question is, will Garcia be able to make 135?
What do you think of Gervonta Davis? That's another great fight for Lomachenko if it could be made.
I don't think anything of Gervonta Davis. I think he better watch himself. He gets into trouble all the time. You don't want that tainting. We're trying to do something at ESPN to really build the sport of boxing. And you don't want guys who get themselves into trouble. Now, hopefully somebody takes him in tow and gets him straightened out. Also, we haven't seen him with a 135-pounder. Let's see what he does with one of these 135-pounders. I have Teofimo Lopez. Everybody says what a great fighter Teofimo is, but I'm not going to let him fight Lomachenko until I see him with like the Finnish guy who's in the ratings, number 3, maybe against Pedraza in the summer. See if he really is of a quality to face a guy like Lomachenko.
And lastly, Bob, everybody was skeptical when DAZN came on the scene, whether or not they could acquire the fighters necessary, make the big fights with a streaming type of viewing of boxing at that level, be successful. Now that we're this far down the line, a good year on, what do you think of the impact they've made in the sport? Is it a success?
Well, they've certainly raised the numbers for fighters because they are paying very big numbers. Whether they moved the needle at all is questionable because their subs haven't, justified the amount that they're spending. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. But, you know, they're in the sport. They're pouring a lot of money in the sport, and that's only good for the sport.
You think Jacobs could upset Canelo?
I wouldn't say that he couldn't, but if I was putting my money down, I would bet on Canelo. You know, I think Canelo is right now the best middleweight in the world. I think, you know, he fights Golovkin again, he'll knock Golovkin out.
Radio Raheem with the chairman, Bob Arum. Can't wait for this fight, Lomachenko versus Crawler. There's many fights coming up. Amir Khan and Terence Crawford in New York. I'll be seeing you at both. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure.
Radio Raheem with Bob Arum.